What's up, Sarah?
Hi, Dr. John. How are you?
I'm remarkable. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I was calling because I was hoping to get some advice or some tools to deal with anxiety and fear around aging.
Ooh. Can I just tell you, thank you for calling. No one's ever called with this question, and it plagues all of us. Thank you.
So for context, I'm 41, and I've never...
Oh, my gosh. Are you on Social Security already? I'm just kidding.
No, I've never felt better. I've never been more physically fit or happier or confident, finally, than I am right now. And I love it. Things are great. However, I feel like it's the last 10 seconds of attractiveness, and I'm noticing the first signs of aging. And also, if I'm completely honest, I've thought about it a little bit, and I wonder, and I think it's more of an identity issue.
No.
I wouldn't admit this just, social circle, but I think I've tied my identity to being pretty.
Stop it, Sarah. Are you for real?
Yeah. And so...
No way.
And so that only lasts a little bit, right? So how do you deal with aging if you've tied your identity possibly maybe to being attractive? I know that sounds super vain and shallow.
Hey, Sarah, it doesn't at all. Not even a tiny bit. Not even a little bit. Okay? Free yourself from that. Everybody's dealing with that. Everybody's dealing with it. And here's the deal. It just depends on what scale you are. Jennifer Aniston is dealing with that with the upper echelon, right?
Yeah, right.
And Jennifer Aniston sitting there, and Reese Witherspoon walks in, and there's that little bitty voice. It's like, right?
Right.
And then if you are, I'm just being awful here, but like, if you're not in that upper echelon, if you are just regular like me, you're looking at a bunch of regular people, and you're like, all right, I got that guy, but I don't have that guy. What's that guy's doing with his hair? Like, right? It's just wherever you have slotted yourself in the judgment of the world, you're comparing up or down.
Right.
So you're not crazy. I'm just interested, where did the message that beauty equals worth come from?
I don't know.
You're 41. Did your dad have a Playboy in the house growing up? You just cut out on me.
Oh, sorry. No.
Did they do Weight Watchers growing up?
My mom.
Okay.
So my mom had a facelift when I was 1. She was an older mom. So there's that.
Sarah, lead with that next time. How much older of a mom? Was she 78?
No, she's in her 80s now, but she was 40. So she had a facelift young. I think the women in my family, there's a lot of facelifts.
Are you for real? I don't know. Where did that story come from? Oh, my 40-year-old mom had okay, good. Good. I'm just going to take a wild guess and say maybe it was there.
Maybe.
So were the women in your life hypercritical of looks and appearances and fine lines and gray hairs and each other and the people in the peripheral circles?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I always just viewed my mom as my mom. So she doesn't have any like weird, crazy stuff done or anything. She
had a facelift when she was 40.
But I was like 1, so I don't really remember. But
your nervous system does, and your dad does.
Yeah. Well, actually, a core memory is her standing in the mirror, pulling her face up with her hands.
Sarah.
And I was always like, why are you like this? And then now I'm like, oh, yeah, like if you just pull
okay, hold on. It's very rare that level of detail. Okay, look, we all look in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, my hairline's receding, my face is sagging, like whatever, like, right? We all do that. All of us do that. But that exaggerated where I'm going to take surgical steps. I am going to, I'm going to continue to be very critical of my own appearance. It's very rare that that doesn't make its way onto your kids.
Right.
So tell me about this mom who was 50 when you were 10. What were you allowed to wear?
Oh, I was a little more of a tomboy punk rocker, shaved head, piercings kind of teenager.
Okay, so you went total full middle finger.
Total opposite.
Yes.
My mom was in Nordstrom's and I had a shaved head and piercings.
Good
but my
on
mom
you. Good
was
on
always
you.
like,
Good on you.
my mom was always like, "You are beautiful, my angel." Like, she was always like, never said anything bad about me or like, "Oh, I don't like you with, you know, a shaved head or piercing." She always was like,
amazing.
Even if people in public questioned it, she goes, "She's beautiful. Why?" So I always felt very loved and supported by my mom, and still do.
Was it because you were beautiful?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I know little boys sometimes get told that they're great at Little League.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow up with an obsession around performance because that was how their nervous system connected with the adults in their world.
You know, interestingly enough, so my mom has 3 children, and, you know, I think everyone maybe has a label, right? Like, my older sister's the smart one. I think I'm the pretty one.
What does older sister do for a living?
She doesn't do much. She struggles quite a bit with depression and does not have much of a functional life.
Okay. So you're on the precipice there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Your answer's in the question you asked, and you asked it brilliantly. But I think if you were just to reverse engineer your question, the answer's right there. You have to make a active choice, and this is going to be very, very difficult for you. Okay? And if I told you anything other than that, I'd be lying to you, okay? You're going to have to decide, I'm going to decouple my worth from my looks. And that's not a thing that you can't just cut a string.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do things. You have to find purpose and meaning in other things that will reinforce and support that pillar you're about to pull out from your life. And by the way, I wholeheartedly, with every ounce of my being, reject the notion that you're on the last 10% of attractiveness. That's nonsense. I heard a great like he was kind of a philosopher guy, but he said the only difference between a 65-year-old man and a 25-year-old man is that for the 65-year-old man, they think 65-year-old women are beautiful too.
Oh, I hope that's the case.
I'm telling you right now, it's the case. And by the way, that external beauty, who cares? I'm not going to outsource that to a dude. That was just a trope. I'm telling you.
Well, also, you know, growing up in the early 2000s where everybody was like ultra skinny and you see, you know, growing up thinking you're fat, finally after 20 years, I finally feel super confident and really good. And I'm like, man, what a waste of 20 years feeling bad about myself. Now I feel really good. And I kind of feel like regret that I didn't feel that for the last 20 years.
What does that regret getting you right now?
Nothing. And I don't want to be 60 and look at myself when I was 40 and remember when I thought I was old when I wasn't.
You will. 100% you will.
I know.
But you just have to decide, I'm going to take those with joy. Because here's the deal. You were a kid that grew up in a part of town that had like a lot of pollution in the air. And that was the pollution in the air that was the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, which is the thinner, the better. And that's just the air you breathe. And you got out. Now you're living on a farm, right? You're like, the air is
Yeah.
fresh and it's awesome. You're like, man, I wish I could have grown up. Okay, you didn't. So let's just make sure moving forward that the air is clean.
I like that.
But you have to decide. So make peace because it is. And by the way, you can't undo any of it. So it's just a
Right.
choice to be miserable right now. And we don't have enough time left to choose misery in the present. You have to ask yourself. I'll just cut to the chase. Let me give you a great homework assignment. I'm going to give you 2 things. Okay.
Okay.
Number 1, I want you to write a letter to your 55-year-old self. And I want you to tell her who you're going to become in the next 15 years, who you're going to work towards, how you're going to be a good steward of your body. Not because it has to remain a certain aesthetic, but because you're worth feeling good every day. Right?
Right.
And I'm telling you, like, you've been around people that aren't classically attractive, but they are stunning. You want to be around them.
Yes.
And that is from the inside out. That's character. That's dignity. That's someone who looks in the mirror and loves who they are and what they see. That's my hope. For me, at least. And my hair will fall out and my skin will set. I've seen my grandparents. I know exactly what's coming. It's not great. It's not great, right?
Yeah.
But I loved being around my grandparents because they were hilarious. And my grandmother was one of the best trash talkers ever. Right? And my granddad thought my grandmother hung the freaking moon. And when my granddad died, my grandmother died right afterwards. And I'm talking about romantic love. Forget like being happy with what you see in the mirror, right?
Right.
I want you to not judge yourself the way you think other people are judging you because they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And here's your last homework assignment. I want you to write your eulogy.
Oh, you mean pretty's not going to be on the list?
Nope. It might be.
Pretty.
Here's the deal. Pretty probably won't, but beautiful might.
Oh.
And you get the difference there?
Yes.
Beauty resonates. Pretty is youth, but beauty resonates. It comes from way down within. And you just have to decide I'm worth that, and I'm going to work towards. And here's what that means practically speaking. Maybe you don't look in a mirror on the weekends. Or maybe you commit to whatever your particular fixation is. Drop your shoulders and remember a time when, like, where you earned that eye crinkle. Or if I smile right now, like, I'm getting old, right? So the crinkles around my eyes are big. I remember my wife telling me when she was my girlfriend, that was her favorite part, that I smiled with my whole face. And now I'm old. And so you could tell, right? But I remember back to every time I'm like, man, geez, looks like my face wads up every time I smile. I remember back to, that was my wife's favorite thing. And by the way, that still is her favorite thing. That makes sense?
It does.
Irvin Yalom talks about this thing called death anxiety. And ultimately, when we get labeled with you're smart, you're pretty, you're the fast one, you're the quick-witted one, they become our identity, and over time, they become our way of hedging against this bus that's coming down the highway for all of us, which is we're all going to die. And we seem to be the only species that fears that with the existential anxiety that we've put on it. So I'm going to live the best life I got. I'm going to have as much joy and fun and great relationships as I can while I'm here. And I'm going to love well. And if I get age spots, that'll suck. But like, what else are you going to do, right?
Right.
Okay, how does that all hit you?
Pretty good. Pretty accurate. I'll do the things. The letter.
They won't heal you.
I think the eulogy one's actually really good because I think that puts it into perspective. Yeah, those aren't the things that people remember you. By the way, I don't even, if I asked, all my friends, what do you value most about me? Not a single one would say, because you're pretty.
No, but they might say you have a beautiful spirit. We love it when you walk into a room, you're radiant. Not, man, you make us all feel bad that we have forehead lines. And
right.
I mean, but it's just a matter of you believing that about yourself. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I do. I have a son who just turned 14 and another son who's about to turn 12.
Have you passed this on to them?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Good on you.
I mean, I would say, fortunately, they're boys. So, I mean, maybe it's a little different.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've wrestled with it too. I'm a boy.
I would say a lot of it is internal. And so...
It's not, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not. And kids especially absorb it when you look in the mirror and you drop, and you're like, ugh.
I do. My son, he'll be 12 on Friday. He actually loves looking at himself in the mirror, and he's always looking at himself in the mirror. And he looks at me. He goes, "I am more beautiful than you." And I'm like, "Okay."
Did you shove him and say, "No, you're not. Look at this," right?
I do. Yeah, he's joking. He's like, "I am so much more beautiful than you." I'm like, "Okay."
And then he watches you be all sad about it. Maybe invite him in, and you can count your fine lines together. That might be just a way to just get through it. Just walk through it. Fear. Here's the deal. It just ends for all of us, and death, anxiety is real. The fear of aging is real, and anyone who tells you it's not isn't being honest with you. I think for all of human history, people have spent most of their energy trying to not die, like get food and shelter. And we've just entered into this little sliver of history where we can worry about other things. Or it's not just royalty that get to worry about things like beauty, and it keeps going on down the line. And now we're handed these boxes, these digital boxes that tell us, and these magazines and whatever, however you consume media that says like, oh, this is what beauty's supposed to look like. And if you don't look like this, then you're not enough. And if you're not enough, then he's probably going to leave you. You're going to be left alone, et cetera, et cetera. All that stuff is real, and I can't deal with any of that stuff. I can just choose to turn off the devices. I can choose to believe my wife when she says, I think you're handsome. I can choose to exhale and remember stories. I can choose to think about my son or daughter writing my eulogy. And I promise my looks is not going to show up on that. I promise it won't. Just comes down to you believing you're worth it. And I think you are. I think you are. Thank you so much for the call, Sarah. You're a saint.